October 23rd. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, apples. 2 apples. Let's do this. So you know that new Zelda game, that Hourglass of Phantoms, whatnot?
I do. I didn't even buy it or play it yet.
Yep, I bought it. I've been playing it. Have not beat it yet. And there's a reason for that, actually. There's this one dungeon in the game. Overall, there are many things about this Zelda game that make me go, oh yeah, this is the Zelda business. But there are other things about this game that make me go, this is just annoying, and I wish I didn't have to do it. And it's sort of tearing me two ways. And the one thing that's really bothering me is this one dungeon, sort of like the main big dungeon of the game. And you have to keep returning to it. It's like you go out to other dungeons around the world or map, and you get stuff, new items, one per dungeon, of course. You get them, and you come back. And every time you get something new, you come back to the original dungeon, and you kind of, now that you have this new item, you can go further in the main dungeon. But this main dungeon is really fucking annoying and not so fun compared to the other dungeons, because it's sort of one of those hide from bad guys dungeons, but it's also a time limit dungeon. And
so you have to keep doing the parts of the dungeon, or like there's no way to just open two areas and then come back and beat them both?
Well, sometimes, right, they allow you to basically, like, the first few times, it's like the first time, at the beginning of the game, you just do one floor. Then the second time you go through, you can do, like, 2 or 3 floors. And you never had to do the first floor more than once. And the floors get easier to do because you have more items available to you, so you can just sort of blow through them quick. It's like as soon as you get the bombs, like, the second and third floors get a lot easier, And when you get the bomb shoes, another floor gets a lot easier. And you can also unlock the more treasure chests on certain floors and you get more items.
What I was saying is you could just go around the game, like, opening, like, doing all the things to open everything, and then just come back and beat the whole thing.
No, because you need to, like, come back, get another piece of the sea chart, go out to that new part of the sea chart to where the new dungeon is, come back, get another sea chart, go out to where that place, like that.
I don't know, because on one hand, the formula, like the original formula of Zelda kind of, in my opinion, almost peaked at Link to the Past, because that was just a straight up, there are areas you were denied to, and as you get more items, you were able to range ever increasingly until eventually you were a master of the entire game, and there's a million dungeons. But I don't know, I guess that formula kind of got overplayed, and they're trying to make it more interesting. And
I don't know. The game's controls surprisingly well with just the stylus, but there's one more thing to say about the crazy dungeon, is that, after you go down, like I say, I guess 5 floors or so, or there's some floor, I forget which floor it is, you get to this yellow glowy bit, right? And you can use the yellow glowy bit to teleport between there and the beginning of the dungeon. So now you don't have to do those in-between floors anymore, you can just teleport past them. But I want to go and get all those treasure chests now that I've got new items on those in-between floors.
If you want treasure chests, you got to go do something.
Right.
You got to go get them, otherwise
but
it's no fun.
But it's not like treasure chests in someplace new, it's treasure chests in an annoying place that I've done already.
Well, then wait and then get all those treasure chests at once later.
But getting those treasure chests earlier gives me new powers because they have
I guess you got to
jemmies.
choose between the two.
Right. But not only that, right? Let's say I go down, you have this timer, and as you get more sand for your hourglass, you get more time in the timer. And when you're in the dungeons, not standing in a safe spot, only this main dungeon, other dungeons are normal. When you're in this main dungeon, not standing in a safe spot, the timer counts down. So you try to stay in the safe spots as much as you can, because that's also where the bad guys can't see you. And, you want to get there with as much time remaining as possible. Well, when you get to the yellow spot and you teleport back to the beginning of the dungeon, it remembers how much time it took you to get to that yellow spot. So if I teleport to the yellow spot from the beginning so I don't have to repeat those floors, it cuts 5 minutes off my time. But now that I have new items, I could actually make it there in 3 minutes and save myself 2 minutes, So it's like, if I want to cut my time off, I got to do it again.
At least the title of the game means something.
It does, but it's tough because it's a lot better than a lot of recent Zelda
Minish
games.
Cap.
Yeah, it's
like
a zillion
worst
times
Zelda game.
It's a zillion times. Well, not as bad as Philips CDI, but
that's not a Zelda game. That's one of those I have no son situations.
But yeah, I guess we're not gonna fully review this until Rim beats it and I beat it and everything. But it's a really good Zelda game that I feel was worth the money, but I'm having a hard time beating it because this main part of the game is just so frustrating and annoying.
I do recall when Scott came into my room and said, all right, here's the puzzle. It was from some part of the game kind of early on. How do you solve it? And I'm not going to spoil it for you all, but the solution was kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Like, really shitty. One of those,
Exactly.
And I feel like I would probably have solved it by accident after getting frustrated, but...
Something like that. So yeah, if you like Zeldas, you like this game. The stylus controls are sort of amazingly good. You kind of forget you're playing with the stylus after a while. But at the same time, playing on a shaky train at some part, most of the time doesn't matter. Like walking around killing bad guys is fine. But at other parts is like, fuck. You got to play it somewhere where you're not shaking, which is, I think, one thing they didn't think about with the DS is that a game with, you cannot play Kirby's, whatever it is.
Canvas Curse.
I know it's been so long since I played it. You cannot play that in a car or a train or anything like that. You need to be like sitting in a chair, not moving, or else you're just not going to be able to play. Unless you I guess if you have like the shaky hand disease and it sort of counteracts the shakiness of your surroundings.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, I'm sure that's how it works.
You know what I'm saying. You get the point. It's, yeah.
Right. So, as you all may or may not be aware, there are 4 times as many Americans living in urban cities than in rural areas.
Yeah, makes sense.
There are 4 times more people living in New York City than farming.
Mm-hmm.
Total. Like, just more people live in New York City than farm.
So if you took all the farmers and you stood them up next to all the New York City people...
New Yorkers outnumber them 4-1.
And everyone got in a fight, and if anyone who... It would all be one-on-one fights, and anyone who actually fought but would die... There would be New Yorkers left and there wouldn't be farmers left.
Well, the thing is, New Yorkers would probably win anyway, just because they're generally tough.
Yeah. Some of the
but
farmers,
at the same time,
count them out.
You know, if we got those many people, think about it. At that point, the farmers have one really, really big advantage: threshers.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But
we got taxis.
Well, along those lines, there are more people playing World of Warcraft right now as players in the game than there are farmers.
In the whole world?
At least in the U.S.
You mean farmers actually farm, not farmers gold farming?
No. Actual farmers digging up potatoes or I guess in the U.S.'s case, corn.
Yep.
And corn derivatives.
Well, they're not digging them up. They're harvesting them with machines.
Well, you dig up potatoes and you harvest corn.
Yep.
I guess I could dig up corn and harvest potatoes.
All right, so are you just counting the World of Warcraft U.S. players or the worldwide World of Warcraft
I don't know. This
players?
article sucks, but I'm not even going to get into that. But it brings up a much... more interesting point that Scott and I were talking about a little bit before the show, that the popular conception of America still seems to be that, people are generally rural and Midwestern, like the heart of America, the heartland of America. That's what matters. But Americans are mostly city-dwelling World of Warcraft players and not so much farmers.
Yeah, I mean, even, the other general conception of the core of America, which is the sort of, iconic nuclear family with, working dad and a soccer mom and kids in school playing sports and learning stuff, that sort of suburban ideal fantasy that doesn't really exist. Even if you find the few of those that do exist, the kids are playing World of Warcraft, the moms are playing casual games online, the dads are doing all sorts of tech stuff and hooking up their AV systems.
Within a generation, the real heartland of America in terms of just people, culturally, is going to be the MP3 downloading, game playing, video punk kid kind of thing.
Yep.
And I don't know, I find that interesting. I just think the real issue under this is more that society and culture are kind of progressing faster than, I guess, ideas about society or government relations with culture are able to keep up.
Yeah. I mean, you go look at the news and you're never going to see, it's like how when we make a big story on Dig is like, oh my God, there was a nerd on the news. Or like, oh my God, they mentioned video games. Like there was one reference to video games, like on something, right? That's not supposed to be news. That should be so super commonplace because that's like a huge part of the culture. Instead, we still, the mainstream I don't know.
I guess the media the media probably have a vested interest in playing to their audience because the common mainstream media's audience is not the World of Warcraft playing punk kid because that kid doesn't have time for TV and doesn't give a shit about it.
Yeah, but at the same time, even the World of Warcraft punk kid's conception is that the World of Warcraft punk kid is sort of in a minority, and I think that the media, not catching up with the culture is also causing the false ideas about the culture at the same time. It's like it's sort of like its own little loop there. It's like because they don't realize the world is not the way they think it is, they give everyone the idea the world isn't the way they think it is, so they continue to portray the world in a way that it not is.
See, but then at the same time, I wonder if a lot of those, because especially kids in school in like urban areas, just they might not even notice that because they don't watch their traditional media anyway, and all their friends play World of Warcraft, and everyone they know plays World of Warcraft.
Yeah, but I'd like to see a survey where they ask them what they think about, like, you know, like the rest of the world. It's like, you know, because I mean, even if you're hanging out like with a whole group of nerds at Otakon, there's 20,000 anime fans. You think, the rest of the world doesn't even know what the fuck anime is outside.
The thing is, it's scary because it's kind of true, but not like it. I don't know if we're at the turning point yet. I think the turning point.
It's like you sit there and you look at the circumstantial and anecdotal evidence you have right in front of your face. You're sitting around with 20,000 nerds.
Here's a good example.
And you go out on the street and people say, "What the fuck is going on over there?"
Here's a good example. You go to RIT, the Rochester Institute of Technology, right?
Yep.
Walk around the campus. And you see mostly like frat boys sitting in hot tubs and people playing like football and hacky sack
and frisbee
and like normal stuff.
Or you see people going, "Burr, it's cold."
But you don't see it like geekery like just out there. But yet, if you walk through the dorms outside of the public eye, it's nothing but kids masturbating, playing Counter-Strike, sometimes both.
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft, playing D&D, going to anime and all that, and just. I don't know. I feel like the next generation, as they grow up, we're going to see a kind of sudden and marked shift in the conception of culture in the United States.
Maybe that is part of it, though, and that the culture that we have...
perception.
The culture that we have is physically inside. It's a culture of individuality and sort of privacy. Like, everyone sits in their own room where no one can see, communicating with each other in a place no one can see. So since the culture isn't visible, it's not like fashion where you walk around the street and you see all suddenly everyone's wearing blue jeans, or it's not like you walk around the street and you see all these, you know, punk skater kids. You know, it's like skater culture is visible. You see it out there.
Plus just locality. I mean, if you take any culture and just average it out across the whole world, suddenly all the members of that culture, no matter how big it is, are pretty isolated from each other.
Yeah.
But geeks and just, I guess, the current generation in the Western industrialized internet world, they're connected to each other no matter where they are. And we've said this a lot, but so I have more in common with some geeky kid in China or some geeky kid in South Africa than I do with the majority of the people who live in the city where I physically am.
Yeah. And not only that, but I forgot what I was going to say. Hold on.
I don't know. I feel like our culture is going to change a lot really quickly in our lifetimes. And I think it's going to be kind of an unprecedented pace of change because the new generations have ways of communicating that the old generations just don't get and can't follow.
Another thing I think what it is that, you know, you see more geeks than you realize because geeks are sort of subtle. You know, it's like unless they're wearing a geeky T-shirt, right? You might see geeks all the time. You see someone, you might not realize that in their backpack is like 10 Pokemans. You know, it's like
you can't have 10 Pokemans.
It's like I walk around the street. What am I wearing? I'm wearing blue jeans. I'm wearing a blue T-shirt with a hot dog on it, right? A picture of a hot dog on it, which I guess a super geek would recognize as a specific threadless shirt, but most would just not even recognize it. And I was wearing like a Mets hoodie. So I don't even look like what I am, you know? So it's totally this invisible culture going on, so people don't realize exactly how big it is.
Well, I think by the same token, that's why there's a lot. I mean, you even wrote that thing about this. The social currency of the geek world, a lot of people now it's not like, I mean, you see the people who wear like the black T-shirt with the square print of the red dragon, but a lot of people now that are more with it just kind of, it's like they keep small tokens of who they really are visible, just kind of as it's almost like a Masonic ring.
Sort of, yeah.
Like you see a little Tonberry hanging from someone's cell phone, and
it's like there's a few people I notice on my commute. Like there's a guy on the train who has a big old laptop, and he's your typical, you know, use a laptop business guy, but he's always playing some
typical use a laptop.
Yeah,
business guy.
You know those guys.
I do, but I still find that phrase funny.
Yeah, but he's always playing a really crappy, but he's always playing a different each time I see him, but crappy World War based FPS of some sort, you know, and There's like another guy is always playing like some crappy sports game on his PSP that no real gamer would buy, but that kind of person would buy. And there's another guy I see on the subway sometimes. He's got this Helsing bag. Every other way he's wearing, a long sleeve business shirt with a collar and, pants for business, but his bag says Helsing on it.
Well, I mean, I guess the real moral of this, not to turn this into a whole episode, but I mean, one, I also have to say that another confounding factor here is simply that farming is a lot more efficient than it used to be, and it takes far fewer people to farm, which that's why I guess the Iowa caucuses infuriate me, because they shouldn't be as important as they are, but I digress.
World of Warcraft caucus? What's the place in World of Warcraft called?
Azeroth?
Azeroth caucus?
More every now and then people like...
I would play World of Warcraft if they did
when
that.
I was in, high school, I was a freshman, sophomore in high school, or even in middle school, and I'm on the internet, and I'm doing my internet shit, I always would think, and I think a lot of geeks think the same thing, wait a minute, we're all over the place. What if we acted together? We could fuck things up.
Yep.
The thing is, we just haven't yet, and there's a lot of reasons for that, and I won't get into it.
I really do think there should be some sort of internet caucus of sorts.
I think
if you're not going to do internet voting, at least, let the people of that culture that are from the U.S., that are, living differently than everyone else, let them have some sort of, say. It's such a
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. I like the idea, and I feel like if we were inclined, if we weren't
even if it doesn't actually count, if it's just a message.
That's what I'm saying. If we were, if I was the lead, the head of the DNC or the head of the Republicans, I would push something like that just to make my party suddenly appear 10,000 times hipper than the other party and pretty much automatically get the vote of the internet generation.
Good call.
I like that. I think that, because you wouldn't have to listen to it. You don't give it any votes in the primaries or anything, but just do something like that and ignore whatever it says, but just say you're doing it. And holy shit. But again, I digress. I think the point here, if you sum it up, is just that gaming... I mean, there's people like Jack Thompson, everyone worries games are under attack, games are going to be censored. Gaming is becoming such a silent, ubiquitous part of American culture that I'm not worried. I think in a generation or two, gaming is going to be as ubiquitous in the future as television is now.
Yeah, I mean, Halo 3 made more monies than, most movies.
Yep, and Nintendo, their market cap makes them one of the biggest companies in the world now, almost entirely on the merits of selling the Wii to old ladies.
And the DS, mostly.
The DS to kids and old people.
All right. Speaking of Nintendo.
Oh, Nintendo.
While we were not doing any news or things of the day all last week, which is Questions Week, which you haven't listened to, you should go back, listen to all 4 episodes from last week. There was big news, mostly from the Nintendo camp, mostly a press release, so they announced everything in the frickin' known universe, and a couple other things, too. One of those things being they're delaying the Smash Brothers, which, on the one hand, everyone is waiting for that Smash Brothers like it's going to be the thing that changes the world, and it will have a significant impact on the gaming population.
Significant impact. I foresee people losing jobs.
However, I really don't see a problem with the delay, because a delay can only mean, A, the game will be hopefully better, right? Because they can spend more time on it.
I'm Duke Nukem forever.
Yeah.
Team Fortress 2.
Well, they did announce a new date. It's not like, we're delaying it indefinitely. It's delayed until February.
I believe I recall some Team Fortress 2 dates.
Yeah. But anyway, I think the delay will make the game better.
Oh, I agree.
Also, there's so many games out right now, just because, it's video game season, and all these other games that they're talking about, that I'm kind of glad they pushed it back, so these other games actually, that I'm going to buy no matter what, get some time to get played. I mean, if they put this out and Mario Galaxy out, everyone will buy both and not play Mario Galaxy. So, it's...
Well, I'll be honest. I would wager that most, if not, most of the work is done. They're not delaying it for any technical reason. I'm almost certain that they're delaying it just to put it into a better slot. And, they probably looked at the curve of what games are coming out when, and they're like, all right, when are game sales going to slump? Let's release it right then to have a continuous wave of sales.
Exactly. Instead of people complaining about the Nintendo drought, they haven't come out with a game in months. Well, now they'll come out with a game, and then a few months later they come out, they'll come with a game instead of a bunch of games at once and then no games for a long time.
Well, the Nintendo news that Scott was going to bring up, but I'll just jump right in here, that I'm most looking forward to is just the fact that Okami is being released on the Wii. And I really, really wanted to play that game, and I thought it looked really awesome. I heard great things about it, but I still just couldn't bring myself to buy a PS2. There just weren't enough compelling games for me as a gamer.
There are a lot of compelling games.
There are, but
not a lot of them are brought to your attention because there's just so many, and most of them are so old that no one talks about them. Well, what I'm saying is
there aren't enough compelling games for the PS2 to warrant me, one, buying it, and two, taking the time out of my life to play all those games.
Oh, yeah, taking the time out of my life to play all those games. I think if the PS2 gets like another price drop, and then... if you were made aware of all the games for the PS2, like you actually sat down with a list of PS2 games, which would be incredibly long.
Oh, there's already, I can think of 10 or 15 that I want to play or have wanted to play.
Yeah, that's how many you can think of. There's probably like 40.
Well, I think a better issue is if I were Nintendo, I would approach, Scott had this idea too, pretty much everyone who made PS2 games and try to get the rights to just straight up port those games to the Wii and sell them for $20.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, freaking... the problem is, Sony's got their big thing. We're like, oh, we're going to make all these PlayStation games go on the PS3. I think they got stuff where, like, you can play PS1 games on the PSP. Like, you can download them or something and stuff like that going on. But, yeah, if companies... I think it's mostly for a lot of the companies that released, really innovative sort of out there games that were different from the herd, like the Psychonauts and stuff. Things that didn't sell back then, but... they put them out and they're there, and now they're not making money off them anymore. But it's like they're not like it's like PC games where you can just take the same exact code and just draw attention to it again to try to make some more money off of it.
Like for example, say you just took old Scum VM games.
Like putting all the id Software games on Steam.
Take Scum VM games, maybe update the graphics, and then just release them in anthologies on the Wii for $40.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big potential now for a lot of people have Wiis and DSs. And a lot of people, there aren't enough games for the Wiis and DSs to, and Nintendo's the only one who really makes, like, the big ones, So it's sort of difficult for people making new third-party games to compete with Nintendo. They just put a lot of crap out there. And I think there's a big market for taking older games from other systems and just making Wii ports that are cheap or DS ports that are cheap. And the game drought will go away because you fill it in with all these re-releases of awesome things. Of course, a lot of people complain like, oh, the Wii's just full of re-releases. Well, most people didn't play a lot of those games, especially a lot of these, average grandmas and stuff buying Wii's.
Plus, if there's a family that has a Wii and grandma has to buy a game for their kid, a lot of those games really just will sell.
Especially if they're $20 instead of $50. All right, but let's go down. There was big news about all the releases that are going to happen. So let's go over some of these. Today's the 23rd. Today, actually, you remember the table tennis game from Rockstar?
I do.
Yeah, that's out on the Wii now. Yeah, I guess if you're liking that, I don't know. I heard some good things. I heard some average things. I don't think it's a full price game.
I don't think I could deal with a game like that just because I played table tennis in the real world and I was really good at it.
I think it'd be better than Wii tennis probably, but I don't know if it's gonna be worth buying a whole game for it.
Man, I want Mario Tennis to come out on the Wii so desperately.
It'll come.
I know.
Anyway, the Guitar Hero 3 comes out in like 5 days for everything. Battalion Wars 2. Battalion Wars is supposed to be related to Advance Wars somehow, and supposedly Battalion Wars 1 was the suck, but I'm hearing some low rumblings about good stuff about the Battalion Wars 2, but I don't think it's worth paying for.
It'll probably eventually be worth paying for.
This is the kind of game where I'd very much like to be able to like try it out, maybe like rent it just to see what the deal
don't worry,
is.
Scott Johnson will buy it.
Oh, that's for sure. Good call. There's going to be a Namco museum for the Wii, which I don't understand because the DS one is fine. What do I need the Wii one for? The Fire Emblem game comes out November 5th for Wii. The DDR for the Wii comes out November 6th. Lego Star Wars Complete Saga comes out November 6th.
Those games are actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was like, Lego Star Wars, whatever. And then I saw like some footage from it, and I'm all about Lego Star Wars. And this is the Complete Saga. So this is like all the Lego Star Warses, like all of them, supposedly. And I'm torn. Should I get it for the Wii or the DS? I don't know. Which one do you think?
Just because we commute, I think the DS is still going to be our primary console.
I know, but this feels like a game I should get for the Wii, maybe. Because it's sort of like the thing where everyone sits around watching and laughing and stuff. Anyway, that same November 6th, apparently big release day, the Mario Sonic Olympic Games is coming. And while that looks okay, I don't know if I want to buy that either. November 12th is the Mario Galaxy, and that is why, part of the reason why I'm glad they delayed the old Smash Brothers, because now I can actually play Mario Galaxy without being rudely interrupted by a Smash Brothers release.
I'm looking forward to this. I mean, I didn't even really play the previous Mario game. I
get the feeling this is gonna be a lot better.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the best part of the last Mario game were all those, like, in the pipe stages where you run across just three-dimensional things and jump and platform, and all the puzzly go around the world. I didn't care about that at all. I just wanted to do 3D Mario levels that were really hard.
Yep. We got some Geometry Wars coming on the 13th for the Wii. I think this is Geometry Wars coming for the DS also. I don't know what the date on that is. We got the Puzzle Quest coming for the Wii. I'm not even going to start with the dates anymore.
Wow, this made me realize that you could redo and release something like DEF CON on the Wii pretty handily.
Yeah, bro, kind of.
And it'd probably do really well.
There's another trauma center coming from the Wii that allows like tag team surgery where you both surgery at the same time.
That sounds awesomely stupid or stupidly awesome.
So I agree. Yeah, there's some Golden Compass thing people are talking about, but I don't know about that. That Rygar, which people have been talking about, I don't know about that. Oh, the Knights game. I'm getting Knights. For people who don't understand, you might have noticed on certain video game blogs all this hubbub about like Knights into Dreams, whatever.
I haven't.
Yeah, well, there was a game for the Sega Saturn called Knights into Dreams, and it was like this huge game for the Sega Saturn. Like, it was on the cover of every video game magazine. I played demos in stores, and I think I played it at someone's house once. It was an awesome freaking game where you're like this jester thing flying around, and it was sort of like a flying platformy kind of game. There really isn't much else like it. And everyone, it's one of those things where people say, hey, whatever happened to that, because it's like a game they made once and people liked it, and then it's like, where did it go? We don't know what happened to that. And they're finally making another one. It's coming out for the Wii, and I'm probably just going to buy it because I got to support that kind of action. Some Soul Calibur Legends. I don't know what's up with that.
Well, the thing is, Soul Calibur kind of disappointed me because I know a lot of people agree with me, though there are exceptions, that Soul Calibur 2 was a lot better than... Like, Soul Calibur 3 wasn't really worse than Soul Calibur 2. It wasn't better enough for anyone to care.
Yep.
And to this day, Soul Calibur 2 is probably one of my favorite, traditional fighting games out there.
Soul Calibur 2 is one of the best fighting games.
I mean, that and
3D, it could be
Bushido
the best 3D.
Blade.
No, Bushido Blade.
Bushido Blade is awesome.
Soul Calibur 2, I think I will say, is the best 3D fighting game there is.
Just a hot damn.
Still.
I don't know. I want a new Soul Calibur to come out.
But it's got to be better than Soul Calibur 2, which is hard because the bar is really high.
Yeah. I mean, 3 just wasn't better enough. Like, it had incremental improvements and incremental, I guess, unimprovements.
Yeah. Like no Link, no GameCube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No GameCube was pretty much it.
Yeah. Smash Brothers in the spring. There's Crystal Chronicles coming for both systems, but they've been talking about those for so long.
But
they just keep changing the names.
I don't care.
Putting out new screenshots, but there's no conclusive anything about.
I don't care.
Things.
Those games are coming out someday, and I gotta say, the defining moment in gaming for me is going to be when I turn on my DS, connect it wirelessly to my Wii, and play some sort of 4-player multiplayer semi-cooperative game.
I don't think that's how it's gonna work. I think there's a Wii game and a DS game, and I haven't heard about. Everyone's always talking. Are they gonna link? Link and.
Oh, no, I didn't say this will be it. I just said once there is a game that uses the DS and the Wii in a competitive, cooperative way, I think that is going to be the greatest game of our generation.
Because all we got now is the Pokemans.
Because Soul Calibur, Crystal Chronicles for the GameCube was flawed. It was mostly just a tech demo. But at the same time, it proved to me that even a flawed game like that can be fucking awesome. And Four Swords had a similar feeling. Like, Nintendo was so close to greatness, they just don't bother.
Yeah, like because they don't have to.
I know, but they aim so much lower than they could. They gotta learn from Moonlight Mile, go into space and have sex with Sherpas.
They're exactly the same as Apple. It's like you have this potential, right? You're on like the top of a mountain with all this potential energy, and you could roll all the way down the mountain and achieve terminal velocity. But instead, if you only roll halfway down the mountain, you'll still get $1 bajillion. So why roll all the way down the mountain? You can just roll halfway down. It's so much more work to roll all the way down. Why bother? So they don't. And they still make $1 bajillion. They don't care.
That's why to this day, maybe we should, in the future, we should do a donation campaign to buy a Wii dev kit.
Yeah. Let's see.
Let's wrap this up. We've been going for like 30 minutes.
Okay. DS. people are talking about that front mission who like those tactical robot kind of stuff.
Dave and Joel were talking about front mission at some point.
Yeah, front mission DS. I played. There's new Worms for the DS that's already out.
You guys said it was good.
I played it, and it was not bad like the first Worms for the DS. So go buy Worms 2 for the DS if you like Worms, but make sure you get the Worms 2 for the DS, not the original Worms for the DS, which is...
God, the original Worms. Luckily, I didn't buy it, but I'd planned on it. I was like, Worms for the DS? Oh, man. And luckily, someone else took that bullet.
Yep, Mario Party DS is it out or is it coming out?
I don't care. I don't know if I care.
It's supposedly, people say it's a little faster, even though I still think it's Mario Party. And supposedly it only has local wireless, not the Wi-Fi action, which I guess
that's probably good.
A lot of people are acting like that's a bad thing, but I'm like,
do you want to play a Mario Party with someone who isn't in the room with you?
They're gonna quit the game and you'll be stuck.
Not only that, the only point of playing Mario Party, the game is so slow that like playing it without 3 other people in the room and some sort of championship belt is just not worth it.
To be honest with you, the DS has Wi-Fi, and I have a lot of Wi-Fi games. I just never use the Wi-Fi because it's kind of and I'm not interested in it.
I
but
think
the
it could be
local
done
wireless
well.
I use crazily.
Like, I think some games could do it better. Like, you could probably do something with Advance Wars that would go really well on the Wi-Fi, but most of the time, I'd rather play with actual human beings, and I say that because people on the internet are not humans.
Yep. Speaking of Advance Wars, new Advance Wars. But they changing all the look.
I don't care.
And they're changing all the COs.
I don't care.
They got new
she's
units.
She's still the game I want.
It's Advance Wars, so...
I'm a man who beat Advance Wars 1 every mission in normal and hard with an S rank, and then everything in the war rooms. I did the same thing for Advance Wars 2, and the only reason I didn't do it for Advance Wars DS is because it was all the same maps.
It's looking like the game is just more Advance Wars.
Well, plus, from what I've read, they kind of dumped all the COs, and it's like they're starting fresh with a lot of things, which is really a good idea, because the CO balance in Advance Wars, as it was getting kind of broken. Like, there were only like 2 COs that were actually good, and everything else was just crap.
It's true.
Plus the fact that I just kind of broken the game by playing it too much. I need something more.
Yeah. But yeah, in general, it's like, hey, there's a lot. Anyone who's still complaining, like, oh, the Wii's got no games, oh, the DS got no games.
The only legitimate complaint you can have is that the Wii does not have the full potential realized yet.
Yeah, I mean, in a month from now, there's going to be plenty of Wii games. You'll have nothing to complain about. Anyone who says, oh, there's no games for the Wii, that I think the people who are going to be saying, if you're still saying that a month or 2 from now, then all that means is you just don't like the video games that there are, because there are plenty to like. You just only care about Smash Brothers. Not, I mean, right now, I must agree, there's not a lot of Wii games. A month from now, there will be plenty of Wii games, and if you just don't like those games, that's you. That's no longer Nintendo's fault a month from now.
Things of the day.
Let's make it quick.
Yeah, we probably should. But I found this. I had another thing, but I'm saving it. And it's someone's list of the people who are ruining Halo 3. Now, when I started reading it, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was one of those ironic, like, tongue-in-cheek, kind of like back in the day, like in the Quake 2 days, I read an article that was similar, but it was like, what is ruining Quake 2 Lithium Deathmatch? And it was like, number 1, BFG whores. Number 2, rocket launcher whores.
There were 8 people.
Number 3.
Everybody. It's Gaga.
You can't whore 10 weapons. The last entry was blaster whores. And then there was an addendum, jumping whores. And it was like, if you don't get the joke by now, you shouldn't be playing this game.
Yep.
Well, this article is the same article for Halo 3, but this guy's not kidding. He's actually complaining about, all right, number 1 thing ruining Halo 3, swordsmen. People who camp the sword and use the horde. Number 2, rocket whores. People who camp the rocket and use it. Number 3, people who use the laser. Number 4, children playing the game. Number 5, people who camp. Number 6, people who snipe. Number 7, people who go for achievements. Number 8, people who quit games in the middle. The only legitimate complaint here is people who go into the microphone. But you know what? That's a problem with cell phones.
I have a separate rant about the achievements, right? But for every other complaint he has, all I have to say is those were problems with FPSs way back in the day that have largely been solved.
Well, except in Halo.
Not to say that more modern FPSs than Halo, not speaking time-wise, because Halo 3, very modern, it's pretty much brand new, but modern PC FPSs don't have these problems of camping weapons anymore. In TF2, it's a class-based. In Natural Selection, it's a game where just people, you buy the weapons. In Counter-Strike, you buy weapons with money. These things don't happen in FPSs anymore.
But even in
solve these problems.
Like Lithium Deathmatch, no. Once you had a weapon, if you were good, you could beat anyone. It wasn't like. I remember once I was playing and I was accused of being a Hyper Blaster whore because I was using nothing but the Hyper Blaster. So I went and got the chain gun, and then I got accused of being a chain gun whore, and then I started using the fucking shotgun, and then I got kicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But like Counter-Strike, it doesn't matter what fucking weapon you choose in Counter-Strike. You have to use the different weapons in different ways, but it's not like people use the AK are ruining the game. People use the AWP are ruining the game. It's like the gun's part of the game. It's part of the game. It's not like if a gun in the game and people using it to the best of its ability is ruining the game, then the game is a bad game.
And so I say to you, JW, maker of this list on this website that I don't really care much about, welcome to FPSs. I hope you have a good time, but I think you have a lot to learn.
All right, I got it.
It's like 1990 called. They want their list back.
Yeah, right? Okay, check this out. This guy, all right, went to a DMV, and he stole the thing that prints driver's licenses.
Oh, man.
And he was printing out IDs and doing all sorts of identity thefts, I guess, technically.
I would have made funny driver's licenses.
I'm sure he might have done some of those too, right?
I would just want to put a subtle joke in my driver's license somewhere.
Now get this, ready? Here's where the hilarity comes in.
All right.
This is a non-gaming thing of the day just because it was so great. It's some sort of Digimark printer or something, and they only sell these, obviously, to, the DMV. That, there's nowhere else to get one.
Did he call to get tech support?
He called. He couldn't get it to work with his computer. He needed the drivers for it. So he called the tech support for the printer. And then the Secret Service came.
Win.
Yeah. If you steal something, don't call tech support.
I think that pushes past Black Shade into epic fail.
Yeah. Epic fail it is. So.
Right. So we've talked every now and then about a lot of really hardcore games like Tigris and Euphrates and Puerto Rico, and we're going to talk about a different kind of game today, but we're not going to talk about these games in general. We're going to talk about a very specific one. The game is Apples to Apples, and it is a card game that is published. I don't care who publishes it. It doesn't matter.
I'll look it up while you're talking.
It's a game that is so simple and yet so fun. I don't care if you've never played a border card game in your life, or if you're the kind of person who has beaten and solved pretty much every board game you've ever played.
Yeah, even someone like who's the chess guy who's like
Kasparov?
No, the bad one.
Oh, Bobby Fischer?
Yes, even Bobby Fischer would have fun.
The bad one.
Even Bobby Fischer would have fun playing Apples to
Apples. You know what?
Apples.
If you don't have fun playing Apples to Apples, either one.
Even Hitler would have fun.
There are two. Of course Hitler would have fun.
Seriously, like, even the worst person in the world
what I'm going to say,
have fun playing Apples to Apples.
There are two possibilities if you are not having fun playing Apples to Apples. One, you are a shitty person.
Two, you're doing it wrong.
No. Two, everyone in the room playing the game is shitty except you.
Three, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. But even
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the way Apples to Apples works. You buy this big box, and there's expansions with different cards. And
you want them all.
You want as many cards as you can get, pretty much. There's even a Jewish set. And
it is hilarious.
Yeah, there's green cards and there's red cards. Most of them are red cards, but there's green cards too.
Yeah, everyone will have a hand of red cards.
Everyone has like 7 red cards.
And they're all nouns, like alabaster, or Mahatma Gandhi, or global thermonuclear holocaust, or fish. Fishy, or your mom, grandma's house.
Something like that, right? And they're all just nouns or person, places, things, stuff like that.
Digi games, Hillary Clinton. You get the idea.
And every card also has a funny little like subtext on it. So it'll be like, like Richard Nixon. And then in the subtext, it'll be like, I'm not a crook, something like that. And then the green cards are all descriptive. They might not be adjectives per se. Most of them are, but they're usually descriptive in some way.
Like scary, diabolical, frightening, smelly, awesome.
And instead of a subtext, they have synonyms. So generally what you do is you draw a green card, and you'll say like, odoriferous, something smelly, and the word is smelly. So right. So the way the game goes is you got as many people as you can. I think the game technically only supports like 10.
Well,
8,
if you have more,
like that.
We'll talk about this at the end, but if you have more than like 5 or 6 people, the game breaks down unless you play it a little bit differently. But anyway.
Yeah, I think technically it's for 4 to 10 players. 10 players, I think, is the You can play with a lot of people. You can get like 15 people to play if you have enough cards.
Yeah, just you have to do a few changes to make it work.
I think though that 10 is the best number. 4 to 10 is good. Like 7, 8 people, good time. Anyway, so everyone has a hand full of red cards, the nouns. One person whose turn it is they put their red cards face down. They're not looking at them. They take one green card, they read the green card, and they put it face up. So let's play, Rim. You ready?
All right.
I'm the green card, and you're all the people with the red cards, which is everyone else playing.
All right.
The green card says, I don't know, poisonous.
Poisonous. All right. So now I'll talk as the collective people. We all sit there, look at my hand, and all right, which of my red cards best exemplifies poisonous? And maybe I have, I don't know, the apple from Snow White is just one of my things. Like, all right, that fits. That was poisonous. I put it down. And someone else is looking through and they have arsenic. And they're like, yeah, that's poison. They put it down. And then you go to the third person, they're looking and they see Hillary Clinton. And they're like, huh. And they put that down.
Someone else has snake. They put that down.
Oh, snake. And the fifth person has catamite. And they're like, I don't have, whatever. I'm just throwing that down.
And the last person has puppies.
And they think, they have a bunch of cards. And they think, you know what? I'm going for the ironic humor. And they put down puppies.
Or the antonym humor.
Yes.
Right. So now everyone, besides the person who put down the green card, has put down one red card from their hand, right? And then they each draw one replacement red card from the decks. And you have a lot of fucking cards, like thousands, hundreds of cards, right?
Now, here's where the game, this is the crux of the game. This is what makes it great. The game is not, there's no rule like the card that best fit wins or whatever. Whoever put up the green card draws all these red cards, looks through them, one by one, says what they are and puts them down, and then they decide which red card fits by whatever criteria they desire.
They don't know whose red card belongs to who because they did them all face down. And
whose red card belongs to whom?
Right. So so I can't help Rim win by always picking the card. That I know that Rim put down. Bill Clinton, so I'm gonna.
Or
pick
play
that one.
bastard game theory and always pick the card of whoever's losing just to make sure I win.
Yep, you can't do that because you don't know which card belongs to which person. So you look through all these red cards, and I look at the word poisonous, and I pick which one I think is poisonous. And, just playing the card, first you show all the cards to everyone that everyone played, and you laugh a lot.
It's usually like, poisonous, let's see. All right, puppies.
Well,
Well, there was that one puppy, blah, blah, blah. Arsenic.
Yeah.
Yep, you got it.
It's poisonous.
Oh, snake!
Clever.
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, it's a lot of these. Sometimes they're clever. Sometimes they're just so unrelated they're not anything.
You see what they did there. The game is not, pick the card that fits best or whatever. The game is look at the person who drew this green card and think, what could I play to get them to choose it?
Yeah, it's like if you know that I'm playing the green card this turn, if you play the puppy, if I put the cute card and you put, say Trilobite, that's probably going to win because it's me. But if you put that when Rim's playing the green card, you try to put cute Trilobite, you might not win against like cute kitty or something.
So this is what's the coolest thing about this game is over time, if they pick your card, you get the green card, you put it in front of you. And then the game ends when, it doesn't matter.
I think it's
really.
like you get 4, depending on the number of players, you need like a certain number of green cards in front of you.
It doesn't matter. You just play for a while, then you see who amassed the most cards. And it's interesting because whoever amassed the most cards, is effectively the person who is most in tune with the zeitgeist of your group of friends.
Or got all the good cards.
Well, see, there are ways to mitigate that too. It's really just the person who is able, on average and in aggregate, to best read all of their friends and play cards from their limited pool that would cause those cards to be chosen.
Yep.
And let me tell you, hilarity was guaranteed to ensue.
Like, it's hard to really understand, like, just knowing the rules of the game, why it would be so awesome. But as soon as you play it, I mean, you might not figure it out right away, but, I mean, anyone. Like, I played this with my family, you know. I went to my family's house in the Rosh Hashanah, right? And on the way, I just bought Apples to Apples and brought it there, right? Because someone had mentioned it. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. So I got everyone to play it, the whole family. Like, usually, you know, we want to play a game and, like, only me and my cousins will play, you know? Everyone was playing, like, every single person, all the aunts and uncles and grandma and my parents and everybody, right? The whole family. And, you know, we were just kind of playing, having a little fun, right? And then, you know, grandma, I think it was my aunt, puts down a green card, and the green card was scary, right? And everyone's trying to figure out which red card in their hand is scary. And
you know, someone plays Hitler, someone plays Gandhi. Well, not Gandhi, I guess. Someone plays Hitler, someone plays Poison.
Someone plays, like,
plays
Lightning.
Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, whatever. You know, my dad, he smiles. He's like, I got this one. And he puts it down, right? And, okay. You know, and everyone's sitting around, and, you know, my aunt's going through the red cards one at a time. And then she comes out, and it says Grandma's house. And my dad played this card. No one knew he played it until, you know, my aunt said, you know, Grandma's house is the winner. And then my dad was like, that's me.
Tadpoles is the winner.
Exactly. You know, but, like, even Grandma was laughing. It was, you know, that was the moment my family sort of figured out the game. Like, oh, yeah, this game is the business.
There's no reason for you to not buy this game and all the expansions you can get your hands on.
Everyone should at least have the basic set. And whenever you have a whole bunch of people over, bust it out. Because
I mean, we're hardcore, and we want to play Tigris and Euphrates and La Chita, but you know what? Pretty much any time someone suggests play Apples to Apples, and we actually have Apples to Apples handy,
and we have enough people,
we'll just play it.
We have a good opportunity to do it.
We'll just play it. It's such a great social game. It's
yeah, and you'd think that the game would be sort of boring, like, after you ran through all the cards. Well, first of all, there's so many expansions, you're never going to run out of cards if you keep buying expansions. And second of all, even the basic set has so many freaking cards in it that it's like, you're never going to see another one twice. And even if you do, it'll be in a different context and it could be funny again, or you might have forgotten about it. And it's like, there's so much replay value pretty much forever. And the game is, like, really all ages from, like, you know, 0 to 1,000,000. Everyone in the whole world will enjoy this game. You can play it in any company with anybody. It's just the awesome.
Now, I guess we'll fill out the rest of this episode because this is kind of important. One, there are some variants to the game. We'll get into that last. But first, there are some things you should probably do or encourage, or some house rules that will invariably make the game more fun or prevent the game from dragging.
Right. Well, one problem is that some people will take too long in putting out their red card, right? Now, usually, you know, everyone puts one red card per green card. You know, that's how it works.
And just don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. But if people are taking a long time, right, then the game can be sort of unfun because, like, imagine if there's 10 people playing, right? One person plays the green card, 7 people play red cards right away, and 3 people are going, I don't know. They're having a hard time deciding. And everyone's just sitting and waiting for them. That's not fun.
So all you have to do is institute the rule of whoever puts the last red card, their card gets handed right the fuck back to them.
Right, so whoever's the slowest at putting out the red card just doesn't count. Sorry. It doesn't matter how good your red card was. You don't even show it to anyone. We just say, sorry, you're last. You don't even get to play a card this turn.
The key here is don't be a jerk about it. If it's real close, like a bunch of people go, don't try to figure out who was last. Just take them all.
Yeah, because, I mean, the point is to prevent the game from slowing down, from people dragging. If everyone rushes, you know, and puts one down real fast, then the game isn't dragging, so there's no reason to enforce this rule. It's you don't need it. And, you know, so just let it go. Every card counts.
Yep. Now, too, if someone is the last person and they don't get to play a card, it's usually a good idea to let them discard that card and draw a new one anyway.
Yeah. I think, aren't you allowed to discard some cards and draw new ones or something like that?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
The rules don't matter.
Yeah, the rules really don't matter because as long as, everyone's generally, being fair about the important things, like, you only award 1 point per turn and everyone only plays one red card.
Yep.
And the rest doesn't, as long as no one's like sifting through the deck to find the perfect card, to play, then the game's going to work out.
Now, 2, if you try to play the game for more than an hour or 2, it's really going to start dragging, partly because over time, you're going to use your better cards. And eventually it's going to get to the point where pretty much everyone has a handful of unfunny shit.
Yep.
And usually that's about the time you want to stop playing. If you want to play longer games, or you feel like that's happening, you should just do all right, everyone, give in your cards and we're reshuffling. Or everyone can discard X cards and draw X new cards. And just do that all at once and then just continue. Or
you should just stop playing. I think in the instruction manual, it does suggest the whoever plays last rule to come into effect when the game's going too slow. And it also says, like, how many cards, points you need to win in a typical game, depending on how many players there are. And if you follow that, you're generally not going to play a game that's so long it becomes unfun. Because if you just keep playing and playing and playing for a long time, which might be hard to resist, the game will start to get sort of old as you play through, similar cards and, you start to get tired. So I recommend playing the game often in shorter bursts rather than less often in longer bursts, because that's a way to wear it out.
Now, also, playing it with strangers is fun, but the game is extra fun if you play it with people that you are friends with, or at least where many of the people playing know at least a few of the other people playing. Because, like, when we play, there are some trumps. Like, if I play Thermonuclear Holocaust, it's pretty much guaranteed that Katsu is going to pick that no matter what the adjective is.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, cute, happy, scary, funny.
Because
silly.
For him, all of those are true.
Yeah, so I mean, it could be it doesn't matter what the green card is. If Rim plays that card, it's going to get picked. He's going to get a point. It's like, you got the card, you got a point. Congratulations. And, a certain group of friends, that happens. And it's sort of a good thing in that it's, like, yes, we all, join together in our knowing of this thing. And, haha. But in other ways, it's kind of like, okay, that was a waste of a turn. Next.
Yep. I mean, at the same time, I wanted to discourage you because playing it with strangers still works because the game is so fundamentally enjoyable.
Yep.
And the cards
But you'll lose a lot of that in stuff. Like, if I was playing with strangers, Grandma's house being scary doesn't work so well. And it works when you got Grandma sitting there and her son, who is the father of her grandchildren, plays that card.
Now, probably the most important part, when you're the one with the green card and you have to do the red card thing, a lot of people just sit there and, like, flip through them all, like,
Yeah, there are different techniques in sort of being the green card person. And, my technique is I read each one, and I sit there and I ponder, and then I'll pick one and, something.
Yes, I will definitely read each one, give some sort of commentary on it, and then lay them out in some sort of arbitrary order.
Yep.
And usually my commentary is like, apples? What a shitty card.
Yep.
Whoever played this is a pretty shitty person. That's not even funny. What were you thinking?
And then someone will say, I had a crat, but I had nothing better in my hand. I'm just trying to get rid of that shit.
Yeah. But, and no matter what, you've got to play it up. If you just sit there and read through them to yourself, you're just like, apples, water buffalo.
Like, if you just, like, look at all the red cards and then say, okay, this one wins. That sort of ruins the fun. You gotta figure out a technique. I mean, there are many techniques that are all acceptable, but you have to sort of do something, to sort of liven it up, in your presentation of the cards to create the opportunity for the humor to exist. I mean, the cards do most of the work themselves. All you have to do is sort of show them and read them, and the rest is done. As long as, you just have to do a little bit of effort, and it sort of unlocks the potential of the card. But if you do nothing, the card will just sit there like, yeah, I'm not funny because you didn't do anything with me.
Now, there's a variant that works very well. I mean, it can add some meta, but the meta only comes into play if your friends are stupid assholes. And they had a name for it, but I forget the name. But I think our friend Ido is the one who told us about it, where instead of doing it anonymously, everyone picks a red card. And then what they do is the green person sits there like a judge, and each person will go around robin and pitch their card.
Like, yeah, you'd be like, I'm picking this, and this is why this is my red card.
Like scary. And Mahatma Gandhi, because blah, 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 blah.
Yep. And, the problem with this is, of course, that I guess, people who are better at, it sort of takes away the game of, it becomes more of a game of skill and the skill of, convincing people. I could see in that opportunity. You wouldn't have people necessarily picking the same person over and over again, wanting them to win. And you wouldn't really have people picking, the people who are losing in order to keep the game even so that they themselves can win. But what you'd have is the people who are very good at selling. Like if there's a salesman in your group who's actually a good salesman, they might win a lot, even though they might not, have the best cards and stuff. It's sort of a different game, but it's still a good game.
It's very fun to play it that way, just it doesn't work if you have shy people.
No, it doesn't work with shy people at all. Shy people will be like, I pick Apple.
I choose you, Snorlax.
Why did you pick Apple? I think it fits. Oh, well.
Stop talking to me.
Yeah. Well, they're never going to get any points and they're going to feel bad. But that same person who's all shy, right? If they're playing apples to apples, this is great for shy people because all they have to do is play a card. It's not hard. Even a shy person can play a card. So they play a card.
And often,
then someone reads their card, and then they laugh, and then the person reading the card laughs, then they get a point, like, yeah.
The game is just perfect. It is unflawed. It is a fantastic game. I cannot stress enough that you should all own it.
Let's see how much the game costs and then get the hell out of here.
Yeah, because I'm kind of hungry. Like, powerful hungry.
Yep, I'm going to cook some good stuff. Let's see. Apples to Apples on Amazon is currently... The Party Box Edition, which is the normal set, is $21.99.
That's so worth it.
The same game in a wooden box is $30. The kids edition is $13. The Junior 9+ second edition is $22. The Party Box Expansion 1 is $20. The Bible edition is $24. The Jewish version is only $19. Ooh. The customizable blank cards are $5. Expansion 2 is $20.
Oh, customizable blank cards are great.
It comes with a few blank cards in the regular set, but then it comes with this is a whole set of blank
nice
cards.
Idea is if you have a group of friends that you would end up playing with regularly, or if there is, say, 1 or 2 people in your group of friends that is maligned or beloved or anything like that, either make cards that are just them, or make 1 card for every person in your group of friends.
Or if, think about the inside jokes you have with your group of friends and make a card for each inside joke. Like, we could make a joke, like one for Mind Flayer or Cthulhu or something.
Yep.
We could make another one that's like, lift 10 blanks. Or like, Snorlax, Borlax, And if those cards show up, it's like, all hands, Borlax. And, in some ways, those cards sort of tweak the game a bit in that if anyone plays them, they'll probably get a point.
But at the same time, you're not playing to win. You're playing because the game is freaking hilarious.
Exactly. Plus, it's a game. It's a subjective game. You can't really brag if you win. Well, it's like, I wanted a completely subjective game.
You can in one sense, in that if you win the normal rules game of apples to apples consistently in a group of people, that means that you, on average, have a better understanding of the thought processes of your friends in the group than everyone else. Very importantly,
that is an argument you could make to some extent.
But remember, on average and in aggregate, it's not like you have some sort of power. It's not like it's going to get
Unless,
very
I guess,
far.
if you won apples to apples with, like, straight sets, just perfectly, many, many times in a row, playing with the same people, you'd have to win. Maybe if you won, like, 15 times in a row, reshuffling the cards every time, new cards every time, with the same people in straight sets, then I guess you might have an argument that you just can read their minds.
In that case, I think your friends are not actually friends, but are merely thralls.
Perhaps. Yeah.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.